You know, I saw this story the other day, really caught my eye, about a couple, they got busted over in Majorca, Spain,
Oh, yeah. What for?
selling exotic cats online.
Uh,
And I mean exotic. White tigers, pumas, stuff like that.
Wow. Okay, yeah, that's definitely not your everyday news item. White tigers.
Right. Sounds like something out of a, I don't know, a thriller movie.
It really does. And when you hear protected species like that, you know there's got to be a bigger story, probably a much darker one behind it all.
Exactly. And that's what we want to dig into today. We're going to take a closer look at this specific arrest, using a CBS News report as our starting point, really, to see what this one case might reveal about, the whole illegal wildlife trade.
Sort of pulling on that thread, see what
Yeah,
unravels.
exactly. Like what animals exactly, how big was this operation? Supposedly, where do they even get these cats? And, well, the dangers involved for the animals and for people, too.
Okay, so let's ground it first. Where did this happen?
Right. So the island of Majorca, Spain, tourist spot, beaches.
Not exactly known as a hub for illegal big cat sales?
You wouldn't think so. And the couple arrested, the report mentioned they were apparently Russian.
Okay. And the animals. You mentioned tigers and pumas.
Yeah, so the list was kind of wild. They had desert lynxes, servals,
Mm.
those African wild cats with the long legs.
Uh-huh. Striking animals.
Totally. And then something called hybrid breeds. Sound like maybe crosses between these wild types and domestic cats, kind of custom-made exotic pets.
Right, designer cats almost.
But then you get to the white tigers and the pumas. I mean, that's a whole other level, right? They're protected species.
That's the key thing there. White tigers, pumas, they aren't just unusual, they have a specific conservation status.
Uh-huh.
Laws exist to protect them because their wild populations are, well, vulnerable.
So selling them is a serious
A
deal.
very serious deal. It immediately raises red flags about like how organized this must be and just the blatant disregard for conservation laws. And the number they found,
Yeah, how many was it?
19 cats
So,
confiscated. 19.
whoa, 19. That's practically a small zoo somebody's running. How do you even keep 19 wild cats?
It definitely suggests this wasn't just a casual one-time thing.
No kidding. And it sounds like the authorities felt the same way. They didn't think it was just this couple, right?
Right.
The report said they believe it's part of a larger international trafficking network.
Yeah, that makes sense. Illegal wildlife trade, it's almost never just one or two people acting alone. It takes a whole chain.
Like who?
Well, the report specifically mentioned breeders, transporters, and veterinarians. So you've got people sourcing the animals, people moving them, people maybe providing medical care or even falsifying health documents. It takes coordination.
Right, expertise even.
Exactly.
Oh.
And they also mentioned the possibility of other protected species being involved in the wider network, like black panthers, which, again, just underlines the potential scale here.
Black Panthers too, jeez. So, okay, if it's international, where are these animals actually coming from? It's not like you can just pick up a tiger cub down the road.
No, definitely not. The report points primarily to Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine as the source countries.
Okay, so Eastern Europe, that's a long way from Spain.
It is. And they think the smuggling route into the European Union might have been via Poland, coming from Belarus.
Ah, okay. Finding maybe less guarded routes.
Potentially. Or tapping into existing smuggling channels. And once the animals were in the EU, they were apparently offered for sale across the whole union, but with false documents.
Fake papers. So trying to make it look legit.
Exactly. Creating a false trail to hide the illegal origin, it shows a certain level of sophistication,
Yeah, absolutely. And how were they selling them? You said online.
on social media, apparently, which is kind of brazen in a way.
It really is. Did the report mention prices? I mean, what does a white tiger go for on the black market?
Well, they didn't give a price for a tiger, but they did mention one specific example, a clouded leopard offered for 60,000 euros.
60,000 euros. That's like, what, nearly 70,000 US dollars?
Around that, yeah. $68,000 for one cat.
Wow. Okay, that explains the why, doesn't it? That's huge money.
Huge money. Clouded leopards are incredibly rare, very protected. So that price reflects the scarcity and, well, the illegality. And it wasn't just the clouded leopard either. They mentioned caracals, European lynxes, even hyenas being offered.
Hyenas. Okay, this network was dealing in some serious wildlife.
It really seems like a broad and potentially very lucrative illegal business, not just pretty cats.
And all happening potentially through platforms we scroll through every day. Makes you wonder what else is out there.
It does.
So what did the police actually find when they made the arrest, besides the cats themselves?
Right, so they seized the 19 live felines, obviously, but they also found evidence more than 40 animal passports.
40 passports. From where?
From Russia, Belarus, and also China.
China too. Huh. So that reinforces the international link.
Definitely. And 40 passports. That suggests they weren't just dealing with the 19 cats they found. It implies, a larger volume over time. These were likely the fake documents or part of the system for creating them.
Okay, so this whole thing, it really puts a spotlight on just the idea of keeping these kinds of animals as pets, doesn't it?
It really does. And the police statement in the report touched on that. They mention it's apparently a trend started maybe in Russia and Ukraine that's now spread elsewhere.
A trend. Owning a puma.
Seems like it, unfortunately. And the police were pretty clear why it's such a bad idea, not just for the animal's conservation, but for safety, too.
Right, because they're still wild animals.
Exactly. People might like the idea of an exotic pet, but the reality, it's tough. These animals, as the police pointed out, need enormous amounts of space, very specific diets, specialized care. It's not something you can replicate in a house or apartment.
No way. And they're not exactly cuddly.
Not typically, no. Their wild instincts, including aggression, are still there. They can be incredibly dangerous both to people and other animals.
So what happens when people realize, uh-oh, I've got a tiger by the tail? Literally.
Well, sadly, the report mentions what often happens. People get overwhelmed and end up just getting rid of them, abandoning them, surrendering them to sanctuaries.
Which must be completely overloaded.
Often, yes. They might not have the resources or the right facilities for these specific animals. It creates a huge welfare problem for the animal itself. And, like the police warned, if these animals escape or are released,
Big problems.
for everyone, huge problems. They can become invasive, harming local wildlife, spreading disease, and of course, the direct danger they pose to people and pets in the area. It's just, problematic all around.
It's such a stark contrast, too. I noticed the CBS piece briefly mentioned some new software being used for conservation, tracking pumas out in the Pacific Northwest.
Ah, right. Yeah, that juxtaposition is really telling, isn't it?
Totally. On one hand, you have scientists using tech to try and protect these animals in the wild.
Understanding their movements, their needs, trying to help them survive where they belong, using innovation for good, basically.
And on the other hand, you've got this illegal trade actively pulling them out of the wild or breeding them irresponsibly, treating them like luxury handbags or something, just commodities for profit.
Precisely. One side values the animal for its ecological role, its intrinsic worth. The other sees only a price tag, often ignoring the suffering involved and the damage to wild populations.
So bringing it all back together then, this deep dive into the Majorca arrest, what are the big picture takeaways?
Well, it really looks like this couple wasn't just, selling a few unusual pets. They were allegedly part of a significant online operation.
Linked to a wider international network.
Exactly. A network sourcing animals, including highly protected ones like white tigers, maybe even black panthers, from places like Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine.
And then smuggling them, possibly via Poland, into the EU.
Right, and selling them across Europe using fake documents to try and legitimize it all.
And the money involved, judging by that clouded leopard price tag, is just enormous. A huge driver for this kind of crime.
Absolutely. And the sheer range of animals, servals, lynxes, hyenas, plus finding all those passports alongside the live animals, it paints a picture of a pretty organized, ongoing, illegal enterprise.
Yeah. And beyond the criminal aspect, the police warnings really stick with you. The dangers of keeping these animals as pets.
Definitely. They need so much space, specialized care. They can be aggressive, dangerous. It's not just bad for the animals, which it absolutely is, but it's a real public safety concern, too.
Makes you think about the welfare of those 19 cats they seized and any others caught up in this.
For sure. And it leaves you wondering, doesn't it? If this one bust in Spain potentially uncovered such a network dealing in these kinds of animals for that kind of money, what else is operating out there under the radar?
Right. What other kinds of wildlife are being trafficked? How far do these networks really reach?
And what are the real long-term consequences for conservation, for animal welfare globally? It's definitely a sobering thought to end on.